What's up, Freedom Gorillas? Today, we're going to be going over the Arken EP8 1:8 LPVO. We're going to go over the glass, the turret, the tube size, everything you need to know about this optic, and we're going to tell you why we like it and why we think it's a great buy. So stay tuned. And as always, everything that you see in today's video can be found at freedomgorilla.com for the best price, free shipping. We have a link down in the description below. Click the link, get set up. We got the deals. Alrighty guys, jumping right into everything that comes in the box on this guy. So start off, as always, regular Arken box, cardboard, very well packaged. And on this model, we have ELD glass, extremely low dispersion glass, very, very good Japanese glass, great feature. First focal plane reticle, 50 BMG rated, fog proof, waterproof, all the things you get with pretty much every Arken scope. Great features. Let's take a look at what's inside. And as I said, very nicely packaged. The first thing you will notice is your Arken owner's manual. This has all your information, everything you need to know about the reticle, the maintenance of the optic, the glass. Very nice that that's right in front of you there. Next, obviously we just have our scope. Pop this foam out of here. And real quick before we take a look at the scope, obviously we have all of our Arken goodies that they all come with. We have our little turret tool to set your zero stop and our cleaning cloth. We have, of course, our Arken stickers that everybody knows and loves. And we have our little throw lever, and I will get into that when I get into the optic. So right off the bat, just like every Arken optic, we have our very nice little bikini covers. Pop those guys off, and we see that we have a very, very well constructed optic from Arken as always. Very solid aluminum body, super strong, 50 BMG rated as I stated previously, very nice. So first things first, our turrets. These are capped windage and elevation turrets, but you do have the ability to run them uncapped, which is very nice. They do have a zero stop feature. These are in quarter MOA adjustments. Very nice, very tactile clicks. I will move it closer to the microphone so you could hear those clicks. Very tactile, not as crisp or as tight as the Arken scopes that have exposed turrets, but again, this is an LPVO that gives you the option to run them uncapped and dial your windage and elevation. Like I said, you have your zero stop right there. You can see all of your little markings. So I click up and I can dial for elevation. And of course, our windage, we can do the same thing with the windage turret as well. We can dial for our windage and we can set that back to zero if we desire to use it that way. You do not need to use it that way as this has a really, really good BDC reticle. It is in first focal plane. I do think this is one of the best first focal plane reticles on the market. Honestly, in this price range, it's the best first focal plane reticle that you are going to get. We will go over the reticle after I am finished with this portion of the video. But so far, so good on the turrets. Very nice, very tactile clicks. I'm very pleased with those turrets. Now, for the tube size, this is not your conventional 30 millimeter tube. This is a 34 millimeter tube. You are never going to find that on any other LPVO in this price range. That gives you a ton of internal adjustment and a very, very large field of view at 100 yards. The exact field of view at 100 yards on this optic at 1 power is 121.15 inches. And the field of view at 8 power is 14.56 inches. This gives you quite an advantage with the 34 millimeter tube, as I said, to have the larger field of view. You can see more of your target. You can see more outside of your target. And that is a great feature that you will not find on other LPVOs in this price range. Very nice features from Arken. This optic also features a huge 28 millimeter objective lens. Again, not gonna find that in other optics in its price range. with a massive eye relief at 8 power of 3.74 inches. That is really impressive, as other LPVOs that are even a little bit more expensive than this in those higher magnifications, 1 to 8, 1 to 10, you're going to have a lot tighter eye box than that. That is very, very nice. Just like every Arken optic, we do have a fast focus eyepiece here that feels super solid, very, very smooth, no play, no wiggle in it whatsoever. Stiff enough that it's set it and forget it, especially if you purchase the Arken scope caps. They will cover this. Once you have it set to your eye, it'll stay there. Very nice. Nothing to speak of as far as slop or anything in that. Super tight, super crisp. Very, very nice feature there. And as I said, I have never had an issue with any of these Arkens getting the fast focus eyepiece to the perfect prescription for my eye. These are very well made. Moving on to the magnification dial. As I said, we go from 1 power all the way to 8 power. Very crisp, very smooth, no grit, no grime. It is pretty stiff like the rest of them. I would say less stiff than some of their higher magnification long range optics. But again, this is an LPVO. We want to be able to turn that quickly, but still tight enough that you're not going to bump it off something and knock it out of the magnification range that you desire to use. Very nice. Again, punching well above its weight for the price that this optic comes in at. Very nice. Also, as I said, for the magnification ring, we do have the option to put on this little throw lever to make it even easier for ourselves. That just screws in right here on that little threaded hole. Very simple. You can Loctite it in there if you desire. I would recommend it, especially on a gun that has a higher recoil, and it will stay in there, and you just grab that and turn it. Another great little feature that Arken includes. Moving on now to the illumination. Like all Arken optics, this is an illuminated reticle. We have 9 daylight bright settings and 2 night vision settings. This is a feature, again, that you will not find on cheaper LPVOs. Very nice that they include that for shooting under nods, or even with, if you have a thermal clip-on or night vision clip-on to go on the front of this, you have that option to still use the illumination on the reticle when shooting under night vision. Super nice feature. This does take a CR2032 battery, just like the rest of them. Very simple, very easy to access. You take your tool, pop it in there, turn that, drop your battery in, and you're ready to rock and roll. These clicks in between are very tight. As I said, just like all of them, you are not going to knock this out of the desired illumination setting that you put your optic on. It is tight, but it is smooth. And unlike the other Arken optics, you do not have shutoffs in between. It is where you set it at. So here we have 0 all the way at the bottom. That little notch right there indicates what power level of the illumination you are on. So you just click it to where you want it and you are good to go. It is very fast to get it to your max illumination and then adjust from there. And if you want to go to night vision, it is just 1 click in the other direction from your initial setting at 0. Very nice, very tactically minded how they did that. So you're not messing around with this. It's just, I got all my illumination for the daytime, and then I have my first night vision setting for night vision shooting. Really well thought out little illumination dial. Very impressive. As always, Arken did a great job on that. And of course, the moment you guys have all been waiting for, the reticle on this guy. So first things first, we have 110 minutes of angle of internal elevation and windage adjustment. That is very rare, especially, as I said, at an optic of this price range, that you get that kind of horsepower, especially on the windage. That is a boatload of adjustment. The reticle itself is their KL box reticle in first focal plane. So at 1 power, you have a donut style reticle with a dot in the center. They don't specify the size on that, but it does give you sort of an EOTech style reticle, which again, you're not going to find in something in this price range or really on anything like this. Really impressive, perfect for CQB style engagements. That basically can be used as a red dot up close. As I said, this has a very large field of view and a very forgiving eye box in comparison to other LPVOs in its price range and in its style. So it is very usable at 1x for CQB engagements. Very nice. And then as we dial the magnification up past there, we get to our 6 and our 8 power, where we have a BDC reticle with both our ranging hash marks that we can use to measure the shoulder width of an 18-inch wide target at any given distance. And we have our numbers for the desired distance that we want to shoot. This is first focal plane, so no matter the magnification range that you are at, you are going to have accurate holdovers regardless. Insanely nice features on this optic. We are going to show you the reticle. We are going to go over everything you need to know about it, and we're going to show you it at every single magnification range in the next part of the video here. So stay tuned, guys. And that is going to do it for the unboxing and features portion of the video. Alrighty, guys. And here we have our reticle at a CQB distance. That dumpster is, I would say, about 15 to 20 yards away from us. And as you can see, we have that sort of donut reticle with the dot in the center. I think that is super usable. The edge-to-edge clarity on this glass at 1x is very good. It is very, very close to a true 1x, which is something that you will notice on a lot of these optics is you don't get a true 1x. This, I think, is as close as you are going to get, and that is really great performance for a CQB distance, and it is very usable, very forgiving eye box. If I move the camera back and forth, you get that little bit of shadow, but you're going to get that on any optic that has a tube, any scope, anything you look through that has a tube, you're going to get that shadow. But comparatively to other ones in this price range and on the market in general, this is really good, great performance CQB wise, awesome reticle. All right, guys, and here we have our donut reticle at 1x at about 100 yards. As I said, huge field of view, really, really impressive field of view. You can pretty much see everything like you would through a red dot or anything else, especially an enclosed emitter style where you kind of have that tube shadow effect as well. Really impressive. Let's go to the next power up, I would say, which would be about 4. So there we are at 4 power. You could still see the donut ring in there, obviously at the edges, but now you're starting to be able to use that BDC. Really impressive glass performance as always out of this thing. Super, super nice. Everything is very visible. The edge-to-edge clarity is still excellent. Now let's go to 8 and see what we have. So cranking it all the way up to 8x. We have a pretty clear image here. Obviously at your max power, it's never going to be quite as perfect as a slightly lower power, but I mean really, really great performance. The reticle is very usable. You could see those stadia lines and those hash marks very well. You have your numbering there for your different distances. And just like the rest of them, you would have no problem hitting that thing out there at 100 yards. Really usable, really nice. I'm very impressed with that, and especially with the glass. That is awesome. Those lines that you see going across, as I said previously, are for measuring the width of a target, roughly an 18-inch target at any given distance, and very usable, very nice. Very impressed with the performance out of this at 100 yards. Alrighty, now moving out to our rock formation at about 850 yards. Obviously, not really an optic you'd want to use this for. This is 1x, kind of useless at this distance, so we're going to crank it all the way up to 8 and see what it looks like. But I'm going to show you that you probably still can use this reticle and this optic at that distance. So going all the way up to 8 power, really, really clear, really impressive. That rock out there, like I said, isn't huge, but big enough that we can see it through this. Can't see it with your naked eye, but definitely can see it through this optic. And we are getting great clarity, great performance. There is no parallax adjustment on this optic, and it is doing a great job of focusing in on that rock. As you can see, our reticle is still very, very usable. We have all of our holdover marks, all those little hash marks, and the numbering, all visible, all usable at this distance. Really, really impressive performance out there at 850 yards on an 8 power optic. Crazy performance. Alrighty guys, now we are just gonna pan through this illumination for you here at 1x. We have it at 0. There is 9, the brightest, 8, go down to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're not going to be able to see it. And then our second night vision setting, and obviously our first. And then we can go all the way back to 0 and then start all over again. Really good illumination, super bright. Let's crank it up to 8x here. And here we have our daylight settings. We have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then back to our initial setting at 0. Obviously, 9 power on the illumination is going to work the best. It does just light up the dot and that horseshoe in the center, but very, very usable, very, very nice. And obviously, most of the time, you're going to be using that illumination on 1x and lights up just like any red dot. Super, super nice illumination. Great performance right there. All right, guys, and that is pretty much everything you need to know about the Arken EP8 1:8 LPVO. Stay tuned. We are going to be doing some more videos on that optic. We're going to show you how to use the reticle out to distance. And remember that everything in today's video can be found at freedomgorilla.com for the best price, free shipping. Link in the description below to this optic. Go pick one up for yourself. They are awesome. I'm a huge fan of them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to subscribe to Freedom Gorilla for the best optic content on YouTube.